I don't climb because I've stopped being afraid of falling. I climb because when I conquer fear, I feel alive, and that just quiets the crazy and makes the pain a background hum. I never thought I'd do it without the use of two legs. When I'm up there and it's me against the wall and me against my challenges. Yeah, I'm afraid of falling every time I get back on the wall. That fear is there. The feeling of falling is right on my shoulder. I am a paraclimber for New Zealand and recently was New Zealand's first athlete to make it into a World Championship final at the World Champs in Austria. When you're sitting here at home and you're back in the mum life stuff, it's bizarre to talk about something you did in Austria last month. It's very weird. A little bit tricky to connect to that because that was over there and now I'm back here. But that's kind of the juxtaposition of my life right now is there's these two roles. There's being a mum and there's being an athlete and trying to make them work together. Charlotte is my oldest. She's 13 now. I think about Charlotte as with all my kids in the context of superpowers. All of my children are these amazing, unique little people who are growing into the most incredible individuals with strengths and goals of their own. And they each have a resilience in them that I guess they've developed maybe through watching stuff that I go through, maybe through working out how we function as a team when the word disability is relevant for us.
Mum is very supportive. Sometimes with my training I feel so tired I just want to give up and she won't let me do that. And in the end I'm always ready and waiting for sport and to do really well, have fun.
Oh, we're stuck.
Can I help you?
You can help. I feel like maybe I probably would do a door.
Okay. D-O-O.
You're awesome.
I'm Charlotte, and how old I am, Poppy? Probably a little bit. Poppy just told me I'm 13. She competed in the national with these swimmers, and
Where was that?
in Austria, and she had a climbing fall accident, and then I don't know where the accident happened. I do rock climbing every single year.
Not done. We're gonna make it bigger.
We're gonna make it bigger.
We're gonna explode stuff.
Yeah.
No, please. Explode stuff. Science. I was posing.
My mum is a para-athlete that goes to some worlds sometimes. Sometimes I feel sad for her, but then again I quite like it because we get the closer parks.
Our normal works because we understand that there's going to be highs and there's lows, and the point is not to feel like everything's perfect all the time, but to work out how can you celebrate the simple joys in the midst of all the crazy that is the word family. Because family's crazy. It just is. Let's keep it real. Every family's crazy. It's not just mine.
There's no other mum like her in the world.
I was 16 when I had my climbing fall. It was in a practice round at the end of a day of quite successful climbing as a team. We had the highest score for the finals the next day and we're all very excited. So with a spotter taking some of the weight and in a controlled way, I came off the wall. I just said, yep, I'm coming down, and I let go. I let go. But I landed on a little margin where, I don't know, the flooring wasn't flash, maybe a bit of duct tape in there. One ankle dislocated and shattered and was nearly out the side of my foot, and the other broke. And I remember as I fell, obviously it hurt, but it wasn't until I went to sit up and the person that I was with took their arm and smacked it back across my chest and said, lie down, don't look. And at that point, I think I understood something had gone really, really wrong. I didn't connect the dots that I was not even going to walk for a long while. I thought I'd be climbing the next day, which I wasn't. I didn't climb for the 17-year gap in the middle. It never occurred to me that I could regularly climb. I went once or twice with friends, but it wasn't something I fought for. And maybe I didn't need it in my life at that point because pain and mobility weren't such a big issue for me. But as my immobility increased and as I lost muscle strength and lost the ability to use that leg, I guess I needed something to help me thrive regardless. When I'm training at the gym, when I'm climbing at the wall, yeah, I might go a little beast mode, but mostly I'm trying to quieten everything else in my life. And that's what I keep coming back to when people ask, what is it that makes you train? Or what is it that pushes you? What is it that drives you? It's not even the idea of success, it's the idea of balance. And when I climb or when I'm in the gym, I'm bringing everything back into balance. And the noise of being in pain or the emotional challenge of feeling like you can't do everything you used to do, the disconnect that sometimes you do still get because you can't participate with your kids, all of those things seem quieter when I'm exercising. So really it's just swapping one drug for another. You get to choose what your life's going to look like from an attitude perspective. You can't control everything in life that happens to you, but you get to choose how you respond to it. And so when I put on the mirror, I can go to Worlds, I was choosing, I have a goal and I am going to focus on that. I came back from that competition where the judge had said, do you think that everybody believes in you more than you do? And I went on and I topped that climb, which I'd never topped a climb in finals before. That felt pretty amazing. A part of going back to climbing was me deciding that not only did I want my kids to see something different, but I wanted to see something different in myself when I look in the mirror. And now when I look in the mirror, I don't recognize the person staring back, but I like her. Because I had to fight to become her. On the deck. I had a journal for each of my children. And so from the moment I knew that they were with me and through my pregnancies, I was writing them little letters. And I wrote in this journal for Charlotte one day that no matter how the world saw her or how they accepted her, she would still be loved in my eyes. I wrote that because 2 different people on that day had told me, we think that there's something different about your child. So before she was even born, I knew that she was my magical child, that she was different, but not less. I've never looked at her and felt loss. I've always felt so thankful that she's in my life, because I'm a different person, because I get to see the world through her eyes, which is so different to how I would see it. She's got a visit to her new school for next year today, so she's very excited about that. But it can be a bit overwhelming for her. Extra people in the house and school visit coming up, and yeah. When you're dealing with severe pain and a child who has some extra magical colours, we do sort of pull together as a team. So I've tried to help my boys and Charlotte understand that a mum doesn't do everything. We work together. So if I'm needed to look after Charlotte or Quillen, or if I'm not able to stand in the kitchen, Max was quite capable of putting omelettes on for everyone. He's been doing that for a couple of years. And if I'm having a moment where I'm a bit sore, I had an evening where I was really, really sore, and I just plunked myself down on the kitchen floor and thought that I was being very quiet whilst I had a little mummy cry, and thought nobody was looking. And Quillen, bless him, came around the corner and said, "Mummy, what happened to your face? You look like a clown." Quickly followed by, "It looks really cool, Mum." I think he knew he'd put himself in a hole. But then we sat there and we all had a little together, because life is a bit challenging sometimes, and it's like that for every family. But if you can be real about that with your kids and then give them the strategies to get up and to keep moving and to focus on the good, I think they're going to be okay. Awesome. 4+ a day right there, and a big fat cucumber and salad spoon once you do.
Okay, Mom.
All right, you got togs.
Just getting wedges.
Togs. You sorted? Charlotte, do you have socks for your skates?
There's already socks.
There's socks in there. Quillen, have you got socks for your skates? Awesome. All right. Thinking about where I put my body against the wall, spatial awareness, so that I'm lifting as least of myself as possible and using the wall, I guess, as a strength, turning into the wall rather than fighting against it. I'm dead. I officially screwed that last move up. That was so heck. It's disappointing when you know you could have done better, but that's why I'm here. Because there's always that gain. There's always the chance that you improve, and that's what you're fighting for. You have off days. Some days you win. Some days there is the disconnect between me and the wall. And that's where I have to remind myself I started this for fun. I started it for myself. And you have to cut yourself a bit of slack, take some of the pressure off, and go back to why you're here in the first place, which is that it makes me feel alive. So, the original surgery when I was 16, they went in through the side of the foot to reconstruct it and put it back together with metal, so that was there to there, there to there, and then some bone out of my hip and a bunch of screws. And then over the years, I've just had more and more ops to just continue to take out cartilage and take out bone and try and alleviate some of the damage. So this has been cut into again. I have muscle atrophy on the side by about 13% and then limited passive range of movement in the foot. There's limited options for me at this point. So one risk is that if they were to definitively fuse or paralyse some of the joints in the foot to stop the degenerative process of the bone breaking down, that could give me certainly some mobility back for a period of time, but the risk is that you potentially would progressively fuse more and more joints in the foot, and then possibly, once the foot was very unfunctional, the option would be at that point to amputate it. And I feel like I'm at my best self right now, and I don't really want to give the next 15 years of my life over to more surgery when I've had so much already. So I'm considering, and I guess going through that process of investigating whether it's appropriate. Nobody wants to cut a leg off, but I don't want to give my life over to multiple surgeries either and risk that I head into an amputation when I'm older and I don't have the same dreams and the same goals to keep me going. So from that perspective, maybe there's merit to doing that now while I have some really clear goals to move forward with and get me back on my foot. Foot. I remember my 7-year-old saying, "Mummy, could you just take your leg off, and get one of those real ones that actually work? And then you could stop saying no to us when we ask you to play." My kids watch me go in and out of surgery, and it affects them as well. So it would be nice if the surgery side of it could come to an end.
Sometimes it's so bad she can't walk, and quite often she, in the past few weeks or so, she's needed both crutches at the end of each night because, got lots of things, rep soccer, athletics and other things like that after school, and so it's a load of lists. On one, I think it was Thursday or something, I don't finish school till 3:45 because we've got athletics, and then I've got swimming. Well, it was last term, but last time I had swimming, and then I had rep soccer after that as well. It didn't finish till 7:30, and the others had skating that finished at 8 o'clock. So it was really busy, and Mum had to drive quite a lot.
So it can be pretty full on. We do bounce, as you say, from one thing to the next to the next. We make it work. My children are so good at bringing me back to centre. And I think coming back to centre is what brings healing. So yeah, in that regard, my children have helped. So tonight is the Ray White Wanganui Sports Awards, and it's kind of a little bit of a big night for me. It'll be the first time that I am the guest speaker for an event where your main audience is adults. Usually I speak to young adults. So I'm speaking for 10 to 15 minutes on resilience. Then I'm also receiving a recognition award for my achievements and participation in sports as a disabled athlete. So thankful for Liana in this moment. Thanks. I'm a rock climber. I wear a ponytail or a mum bun everywhere. I do get nervous, and I probably get more nervous public speaking than I do right before a climb. I'm taking a chance, and I guess I'm taking the risk to be a little bit more vulnerable and to open up and share a bit of my journey, and maybe that will help somebody else in the room.
It's going to be quite exciting.
I get asked all the time what happened to your leg. So one thing that I guess is nice to speak about is raising a bit of awareness around disability and how other people approach that. And I don't think that anyone approaches you and upfront talks about your deficit because they're trying to be awkward or frustrating or unhelpful. I think maybe it's just an innocent unawareness that it's really stink to have to answer that question all day long.
Rachel Māia, rock climbing and paraclimbing.
I didn't know if I was going to be able to climb without the use of this leg or not. I can't put that foot on the wall. Sometimes I use the knee and sometimes that doesn't come off so well. But I didn't want to spend the rest of my life not trying. When I went back to climbing, it was my way of trying to reconnect with something that made me feel like me. If I took away the word disability, if I took away the word mum, if I took away the word pain, who was I and what did I have left? Yep. Oh, good job. Yeah, that makes it better. When I watch her climb, she doesn't let go. And I give her a bit of slack in the rope like I have when I'm in a competition. I'm not doing the work for her at all. She is 100% not letting go of that wall. Ready? Is the climber ready? I have to every now and again remind her not to use her knee because she's watched me climb so much she'll automatically chuck the left one on. I'm like, no, you have the foot. Use that. We went to an event that was arranged for children as a special event for special kids.
I can't remember if it was me or Kayla, but started conversing with Charlotte.
Yeah.
She's just a huge support. I don't feel like I'd be lost without her now.
That goes both ways.
It's just nice to have someone to talk to that gets it, you know, gets the little struggles and the daily things and the things that are a little bit different to what other parents have to deal with. She just pushes, you know, like nothing's holding her back. She just pushes through. The travelling she's doing and the effort she's putting in and the juggling of the family and the kids and she's just amazing. I don't know how she does it.
For us, when our kids tie their shoelaces, we throw a party. And I was with Donna the first day Caleb managed to use a straw. And it was just this most magical moment. And then when Charlotte tied her laces for the first time, I'm taking a picture of that smile and sending it to Donna, and we understand what that means. So to see both of our kids up a wall.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, all right.
Make sure it's safe.
Step aside for the pro, honey. When I came back to climbing, I first came and climbed at Taranaki, and I joined in, and I went back to it for the people and for the chance to connect with something that felt good. So this is the Taranaki Tuataras, who are all going to wave and say hi. This is the Taranaki Tuataras. Take 3. This is the Taranaki. I've been climbing with the Taranaki Tuataras for about 18 months. This is the first place that I came back to when I started climbing again. And it was the first group of people that I climbed with when I was giving it a try without the use of that left leg, without the full use of that left leg. Right from the start, they would continue to tell me that you can do this. And so it was a positive sound in my life that I wanted to keep coming back to. Everything comes back to community. That's what resilience is. You don't get to a world championship on your own. You do it because there's people at the bottom screaming at you to keep moving. I love that I get to choose my own labels about who I am. I can get up in the morning and focus on the fact that I'm a history maker, I'm a mum, I'm an athlete, I'm a friend. I'm not just a cripple or just anything. I am Rachel Māia. I climb walls.
Attitude was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.